Hey everyone, I'm Jody Bader.
And I'm Sarah Martinez. We're Project GLAD consultants and trainers from Washington State. Welcome to this short video tutorial on using a Project GLAD strategy online. As you watch, feel free to reach out and connect with us or get some more tips from our website. You'll see the link below, nextstepsprojectglad.com. Enjoy.
Hey everybody, welcome to Process Grid Game Day online version. Now, before you get started watching this tutorial, I want to make sure that you hop over to step 6 and make sure that you go through the lesson videos, because I'm not going to teach you how to do the strategy in this. I'm just going to teach you how to get it online for distance learning. All right, so full disclosure here, we're not going to be going over any fancy online tools or special apps that you need to have a subscription for. I'm going to keep this really, really simple, and we're going to do it in a slide deck. The reason for that is I've actually been looking for the fancy online tools or apps to use with this and the quiz game options that many of them offer. But if you're doing something like a Jeopardy game where it's a quiz question and then a quiz answer, one question, one answer, it works really well. When we're working with a process grid, however, think of it in terms of like a family feud where there are many possible answers for one question. Taking a look at our grid here, we see that especially in the last 3 columns, we have multiple bullet points per box. So I need a game board that's going to be able to accommodate that. This is what the finished version is actually going to look like. So your game board might be a little bit different depending on what your process grid looks like and how many bullet points you have in each of your boxes. So let's just take this top row, for example, a mid-ocean ridge. In the 3rd column, the movement column, I have 3 options. And in my process grid game board, I have those same 3 boxes. Now let's go ahead and I'll show you how I got this game board created. You're just going to start with a blank slide and some shapes, and go ahead and just create the shapes on this slide, formatting with the column titles, putting in your topics for your rows, and that's your basic game board. Now we need to populate the game board with the other slides that's going to go with it. Before I do the slides, let's go ahead and get our color coding established, because in the regular classroom, each row is a different color. Now, taking a look back at my process grid and counting the number of bullet points I have for each box will indicate how many of my color-coded shapes I need to replicate. And a note here about the points, because I already kind of had a pre-made Jeopardy game board that I was modifying for this, it was 100, 200, 300 points. If you wanted to do your process grid the way that we do it with 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, feel free. The points don't matter. It's really your discretion. All right, so now I have my finished game board. It's time to go ahead and populate these cells with the correct question and corresponding slide. So for example, if I wanted to take a look at the green row, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3. I have 9 total. I'm going to need 9 green slides that are corresponding. So let's go ahead and make a few more. Now that I have the number of slides that I need and they're properly color coded, I'm going to go ahead and create my questions, put my questions on each slide. I have a way that I like to organize my slides. So for the movement, I have three movements questions. Mid-ocean ridge for 100 points is going to be at the top of all of my slide. And then my subtitle is that category, movement and slide number 1. Add my text box and my question formatted the way that you can format it however you like it. I'm also adding my fact, if you will, as a complete sentence. And the reason for this is back in our process grid game, you saw in the demo video that if a student gave me a 1-word answer for one word or a phrase for the answer, like plates spread away. I'm going to repeat it as a language scaffold as a complete sentence. The movement of a mid-ocean ridge starts when plates spread away from each other. That's why in this version, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create that complete sentence on our slide. Our next step is to make sure that the links are properly placed. On every single slide, I have a home button or a little icon, or whatever image that you want to insert there. I'm going to go up to Insert and Action. I'm inserting a hyperlink action. I want to make sure that when I press on that button, it's going to go back to the home slide. I have a lot of options here of which slide I want it to go to, but in this case, it's slide number 1. Click OK. Notice that I'm on slide 5, and that's going to make a difference now when I'm hyperlinking the other way. Going to movement in my first cell. When I click on that, I'm going to add another action, add a hyperlink, slide, and then find slide number 5. Is it the right one? Yes, it is. Click OK. And now they're hyperlinked back and forth. Let's go ahead and start the slideshow and check that. Here I am on my main slide. When I go to the movement number 1 question, it goes right to the question. Click on the home button, it goes back to the game board. So we're going to do that for each one of our slides. So now let's talk about how you're going to actually do this lesson with the students. This is going to be a synchronous lesson, and you're going to go back and forth between sending students into breakout rooms where the 4 students will be discussing a certain portion of the process grid, then coming back to the whole class session where you're going to actually fill in that information. There's a couple of materials that you're going to need to have on hand. Number 1 is a paper process grid for you as the teacher, because you're going to need to be able to see which box to click on if a student gives you the answer that the plates are spreading apart during a mid-ocean ridge. You need to know, is that movement number 1, 2, or 3 slide that you're going to click on to show that answer. The second thing that you're going to need is, or that the students are actually going to need, is a copy of the pictorial and the mind map, the whole class mind map that goes with that top row. They will be getting into their breakout rooms and discussing that information for that top row. They're also going to need their copy of their expert text and their individual mind map that, if you watched the other tutorial, they're going to get out a Seesaw where they have it stored to be able to do the subsequent rows. Your students will also need a blank process grid so that they can fill in the notes as they are presented in the game board. And the last thing that you're going to need is a way to call on students. You could go old school and use your numbered sticks or numbered spoons. For example, person number 2 at the green team, or you can do an electronic spinner. We created this one on flippity.net. It's a free service that gives you the option to create spinners. The one that you're going to see when you get in there is a randomized spinner to call on different students in the class. Now remember, in the GLAD model, you only need 4 numbers to call on kids. Before the game gets started, have students rename themselves so that when you're looking in the participants window, instead of seeing just a list of the students' names, you'll be able to quickly identify which teams the students are from and what their number is. So when you pull your sticks, person number 3 from the blue team, Luke, please unmute yourself and give us a fact about the mid-ocean ridge. So there you have it. There's our idea for an online process grid game in a slide deck. Thanks for watching.